we ought to love our neighbor as we do ourselves. And so you can never ever love your neighbor the way you ought to love your neighbor until you love yourself the way you ought to love yourself. And you can never love yourself the way you ought to love yourself unless you love God the way you ought to love him. And that's how it works. You cannot even appreciate yourself until you've gotten wedded to Jesus. Then you can begin to understand what love is. You don't got to worry about teaching love when you know that they love him. Then they can love you. Let me just take it a step further. I can never ever love Pastor here the way I ought to love her until I love God the way I ought to love him. And because I love him, I can love her the way I want to. This is not hard. This is easy. This is easy. So one of these lawyers, you know lawyers, is my daughter here? You know lawyers. They're always tricky with questions and everything. So when Jesus said to love the Lord God with all thy soul and thy heart, and with all your strength and with all your mind, and to love your neighbor as thyself. So then this lawyer says, well, who is my neighbor? See, we forgot all about that, but that was what precipitated the story about the Samaritan, the Good Samaritan. That's what precipitated. But we've forgotten all about that. But when you put everything together with some other stories, you begin to get a picture of who Jesus really is and what he was really about.